I have yet another way of making coffee that I want to share with you. This is the Cook and Escape Polar Night Coffee and Tea Set. If you're interested in hearing my thoughts on this product, keep watching. Before we get started, I want to thank the company Braudout for sending me the Cook and Escape Polar Night Coffee and Tea Set. So this is, I think, the fourth or fifth product that Braudout has sent to me for testing and review. And I've got a good understanding of what the company is all about now. So Braudout is a distributor of other product or other brand name products, all related to being in the outdoors. And they're products that you don't see elsewhere. And so Braudout may have exclusive distribution on them, I'm not sure, but what it is they're all high value, not necessarily high end, and certainly not overly expensive, but high value, meaning you're getting a lot for your money. So that's what I appreciate about Braudout is they brought together a collection of products for people who would like to have, say, a titanium coffee and tea set like this one, but don't want to pay the big brand name prices for them. So I will be putting links to Braudout, of course, in the video description. You can take a look at what else they have. They have tents, they have, from different companies, all kinds of things that I think are worth taking a look at. All right, so what I thought I'd do is I'd just bring the camera in a little bit closer. I'll go through the set to show you what's all involved, and then of course we'll make some coffee. All right, so everything in the coffee and tea set is inside of the kettle. By the way, this is the stuff sack that the kettle came with. So just let's take a quick look at the kettle before I open it up and take everything else out. Nice titanium kettle, 900 milliliters, good size, not too big, not too small. I believe this is bamboo. If I'm wrong, well, it'll be in the video description anyway. And so that handle is kind of nice when things get hot. This stays cool to the touch. Nice little wooden knob, another bamboo knob on top. I thought maybe these were just aesthetics and maybe just for looks. Maybe they are, but I did notice that this makes a difference when I'm trying to hold the lid shut while I'm pouring water into, well, my cup or through the coffee maker or whatever else. So it is nice to have this bit of wood here. Now, there are a few other features about the kettle I'll share with you in a moment, but first let's take the items that are inside out. So everything, as I mentioned, is inside. There's another stuff sack. It can be a little, you have to do a little juggling to get it all out. There we are. Let me put the kettle down. So another stuff sack. Inside of the stuff sack is everything you need for making coffee and tea, minus the coffee or the tea itself. Throw the stuff sack aside. So to start with, you get a double-wall titanium mug. It's not very big. It's 300 mils, so it's just over 1 cup. It has butterfly handles, which fold out of the way. It has a lid for keeping things hot. We'll just put the lid aside for a moment. First thing on top is this. This is a mesh strainer that's intended for making coffee. I'll come back to that in a moment and tell you what I've discovered about this. So also inside is the tea making set. So the tea making set is comprised of two things. First off, this basket, this little strainer basket goes down inside your mug. You put your loose leaf tea, and I did that when I got here this morning. I had some Chinese tea that were given to me as a sample, and I thought that was appropriate to make tea with, and it worked perfectly for doing that. So you put that inside the mug, put your hot water in, put the lid on, let it sit for a period of time. It's got a little basket handle, slowly lift it out, let the tea drain through into the cup, and you're good to go. But inside of this is something also very different. 2 little teacups, and I do mean little. Double-wall titanium teacups, 45 milliliters, so not a lot. Okay, I might as well share this with you right now. This is probably the last time these are going to be coming with me to the woods because honestly, I can't see using this. That's what the mug is for. This will just save a little bit of space if I leave these at home. However, they are functional. They do work. They're kind of interesting to say the least. They stack. If you enjoy having tea in tiny cups like this, then maybe that's the thing for you. I'll tell you what it probably would work for is espresso. Keeping your espresso hot if you make a small shot of espresso. So maybe one of these will come back out with me. I'm kind of doubting that though. Let me put that all aside. I want to bring the kettle back into the picture. So the kettle looks very much like most kettles. I do like my kettle. So this is a good size, 900 mils, not too big, not too small as I mentioned. Beyond the handle, the other thing that's different about it is the lid on top. Can you see that it is D-shaped? So fits in like that. I wondered again if they're just trying to be a little different or if there's some functional reason for having that shape. there possibly is, and what I've come up with, and this may be stretching a little bit, is that because of the D shape is at the bottom, or the bottom of the D here, there's actually more space behind the spout than there would be anywhere else, or if you had a round one, a round lid. So maybe when you're pouring from it, this actually allows a bit more water to back up behind the spout before it starts spilling out of the lid. Once again, having the that little wooden knob actually helps you keep the lid shut anyway. Okay, so what I thought I would do, having shown you all the components, is rather than go through all the specifications, yes, they're all made of titanium, I gave you the volumes, all of that will be in the video description so you can reference it for later purposes, but I want to show you how I'm going to make coffee using this strainer. So, when it arrived, there were no instructions with the set, so I wasn't quite sure how this was intended to be used for making coffee. My thinking was that you would sit it on top of the mug like that, make cowboy coffee in the kettle, and then pour it through to catch the grounds, right? And that would work if that's a legitimate way of using this. But I think what I've used it for and what I've demonstrated is I'm going to use it as a pour-over device. And yes, I know it's not conical in shape. It's not your classic pour-over device, but it does work. It has very, very fine titanium mesh screening on the bottom, and water does go through this, or coffee goes through this very slowly, so it does work. And what I do is place it on top. I can get about two and a half tablespoons of coffee in it. That's about all it will hold, but you know, considering it's only a small mug, so maybe that's all it needs to hold. And very slowly pour my coffee around, and then very slowly it will drain through and you end up with a cup of coffee. I think that is the way I'll be using this in the future anyway. All right, why don't I demonstrate that? Now my kettle is just coming to a boil here. So we'll put, now what I've also found is you can only put a small amount of coffee in there, because after that it just gets to be too much. Now, coffee I'm using, Rampage, no surprise, right? And I have this set up for a different style of brewing, so let's see, this is a little coarse. But if I'm just making a small amount of coffee and I take my time, I should be able to make this work. You know what, I think I can get a little bit more. So I'm putting 2.5 tablespoons in this. Part of the reason, as you'll see in a second as I take that off, let me turn the kettle off, is that the coffee wants to bubble up a little bit as I pour it on, so you'll see that happening now. So I just take my time and go around in circles. There, it's starting to bubble up now. But it is working, right? So I can only get so much water in the top of that screen, and then I'm just going to have to let it sit, wait for it to drain through, put a little bit more in. Now, this is a small coffee cup, as I mentioned, 300 mils, so it's just over 1 cup. I'm probably going to fill it up to about the 250 mil line, so I'm not actually making a full big cup of coffee, just a nice late afternoon cup is what I'm going to call it. It does take a little bit of time for it to drain through. Easy enough though, don't be in a rush. And because it's going into a double wall mug, it's going to stay hot. Yeah, that should be enough for me anyway. All right, I'll let that drain through and we'll do a taste test and wrap this video up. Very nice. Of course, I started out with Rampage and that helps a lot. All right, a few closing comments for the Cook and Escape Polar Night coffee and tea set. What do I really like about it? Well, right off the top, I love the kettle. You know, the kettle is just a good size. It's not too small. It's not too big. It's a bit different because of the wooden handle and the D-shaped lid on top. Yeah, it's just a nice kettle to add to your collection. The coffee cup, perfect. Small, maybe 250, 300 mils, just over 1 cup of coffee or tea or whatever else you're drinking, but double-walled and butterfly handles. It works. It's just great. The strainer. As I mentioned, there were no instructions with the set when it arrived. I wasn't sure how I was supposed to use the strainer for making coffee. I had assumed it would be used for cowboy coffee. Put it on top of your cup, strain any grounds out. I think using it as a pour-over, as I demonstrated, is a better way of using it, but it's slow and it doesn't make a lot of coffee because you can't put a lot in top of that little strainer. But it's useful, and maybe there are other reasons for using it as well. Maybe other types of teas if you want to make it that way. However, it does have that tea strainer, which is designed to fit in this mug, and that works great for making tea. When I first got out here today, I made myself a cup of tea using some loose leaf Chinese tea. It seemed appropriate to use. And yeah, it worked out just perfectly. The only part of this set that I question is the little tiny teacups that came with it. Double-wall titanium teacup, what, an ounce or so each? They're small, they're cute, but they're not something I can see bringing back out with me after today. You may have a different thought on that. If you like using those type of small cups for tea, then maybe that's exactly what you're using for. I could see using them for espresso shots. Yeah, I actually might keep one with me the next time I bring one of my small espresso machines out for making espresso shots in, although, you know, these work for the espresso shots as well. Okay, I'll be putting the links for this set, the Cook and Escape Polar Night Coffee and Tea set, in the video description. Take a look at the site, because what you'll see, as I mentioned, is all of the components that make up the set are also sold separately. So maybe there's something you don't like, you don't have to buy it. You don't have to get the whole set. If you like the whole set, you're going to save yourself a few dollars, but it's titanium. It's still going to cost a bit of money regardless. If you have any questions, put those in the questions section, or comments for that matter. But until next time, get out and explore and take that path less traveled, because it will make all the difference. Bye for now.